The 2025 NCAA March Madness Men's Tournament is back, and this time it is bringing all the feels. The biggest event in college sports tips off March 18th, and you don't want to miss a second of the heart-pumping action. Catch all the clutch shots, big-time plays, upsets, Cinderellas, Blue Bloods, and more. Tune in to the NCAA Men's Division One Basketball Championship March 18th through April 7th on TBS, CBS, TNT, True TV, and Stream on Max.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from Burger King, Buffalo Wild Wings, KFC, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a burger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode number 152 of the USA Soccer Cast. We are bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in these United States. I'm Donald Wine. We get to say it. Soccer Wars. Soccer Wars are back, and they have stepped up in a big, big way. A couple of weeks back, the USL announced an ambitious plan to launch a new league in 2027-2028 that would be a top-flight league in the U.S. soccer pyramid. They're calling it right now USL Division One, and their goal is to have 12 to 14 teams in that new league at the start. Well, earlier this week, they made an even bigger announcement to couple with that Division One league. The USL announced on Wednesday that beginning in 2028, they will initiate promotion-relegation between its three professional leagues, USL Division One, USL Championship, and USL League One. First off, they're going to have another name for the top flight league because Division One being D1 and League One being D3 is going to confuse a lot of people. But we're going to have Eboni Christmas from Walkin 90 Podcast and Shea FC on in a few minutes to discuss everything pro rel with the USL. But first, let's talk about the Division One league. The first thing that USL has to contend with is how to get the teams necessary to satisfy U.S. Soccer's D1 standards. Those standards being 12 teams located across the Eastern, Central, and Pacific time zones. Apologies to those of you in the Mountain time zone. At least 75% of the teams playing in metropolitan markets of at least 1 million people, and all league stadiums must be enclosed with a minimum seating capacity of 15,000. This is clearly set up, this USL Division One, to compete directly with Major League Soccer, who is in its 30th season as the top flight league and has 30 teams across 28 cities in the United States and Canada. Paul McDonough, who is the president and chief soccer officer of the USL, said that, quote, I think we're going to just go and do our business, end quote, rather than try to compete with MLS. But that's why they're in here. They may want to coexist, but in that coexistence is the competition between the two leagues. I now want to take you to the interview I had with Eboni Christmas. She is one third of the Walkin 90 podcast, which covers USL League One. She helps manage Shea Butter FC. She's a North Carolina FC fan, which has this unique perspective of moving between divisions. She even does an F1 podcast with me. DRS available wherever you can find your podcast if you're into Formula One. We discussed this whole thing, what it could mean for a team like North Carolina FC, which teams could be a part of the new league, and so much more. So, here's that interview with Eboni Christmas. And we are joined by Eboni Christmas. She is from the Walking 90 podcast. She is a part of Shea Butter FC, and she co-hosts a small F1 podcast by soccer nerds called DRS with yours truly. She's my homie. Eboni, how you doing?
I'm good. Always happy to jump on a pod with you.
Oh yeah, it was great to be on your show as the news kind of broke, which was kind of wild. But we're obviously talking about the USL deciding not just to have a Division One league, but also to move to a promotion relegation system beginning in 2028. First of all, I mean, to give the people kind of background, I know you are a North Carolina FC fan. Obviously, your podcast Walking 90 deals with USL League One, but your general thoughts on USL moving to this new system for America, but one that a lot of people have been asking for.
Yeah, I was excited but apprehensive. Just because we've had this conversation before of like USL's going to Pro Rel, and you're like, okay, cool, but what does that mean? And they're just like, we have a concept of a plan, and I was like, all right. So I'm really excited. It does bring us onto like a little bit more of a global scale of what we can accomplish with soccer in America. But there's still just like a lot of questions that need to be answered. As a fan of the game, you love it when it's not your team being relegated.
Yeah, I've always said that. I've always said that.
So there's going to be a lot of people who ask for Pro Rel who've never experienced Pro Rel, and it's going to be a very tough transition for them.
They're going to get it. Like, you want a relegation. Everyone dreams of the promotion part, obviously. And
it's the funniest thing in the world. Yeah. I mean, we've said it before. Like, there's a lot of Arsenal fans asking for, like, that are U.S. Arsenal fans or U.S. Man United fans or Liverpool fans that are saying, we want Pro Rel. And then I'm like, have you ever experienced part of that Pro Rel? And then we're just like, okay.
Yeah. I'm a Real Madrid fan. They have never been relegated, ever.
Right.
So, and God willing, they probably never will have to go through that. But yeah, it's definitely those people who have been clamoring for it over the years. Again, as a North Carolina FC fan, your team was in the championship.
Yes.
They then moved down to League One,
Yes.
and then recently they won the League One title, and then took their talents to the championship, but not because of promotion, but because financially they said we're in a better state and we can go back up to the top flight. As a fan, and even speaking for some of your fellow fans down there in Raleigh, what was it like to see the team drop down to League One, and was there a boost of energy moving back up? In other words, did this promotion relegation, did you see the fandom kind of shift as you went down and went back up?
You definitely saw it shift in a bad way when we went down to League One, just because it's like you just had the MLS bid get taken from you. And so now you're D2. And then you self-relegate to D3. So that kind of kills a lot of like momentum. And then you announce you're going back up to championship. So that's still like a higher level, but you're still not D1. But you go on this crazy run, you beat your rivals to win the league itself, and then you move back up the championship. So there was a lot of emotions that are involved in going down and coming up, which is sometimes really good to feel. Sometimes it's just too much to feel, and so you just kind of like tap out. And that's fair. Like there's like having those emotions come out and them being like, oh, it's a little too much emotion. I can't really handle that much right now. And all those that are like, yeah, I love it. That's the thrill of it. I like going down and coming back up. And it's like that's the big reality of just like soccer globally of just like those emotions. So me as a fan, I've done it already. Whether it was self-imposed or not, I've done it. I mean, we did it with Nassel. Like
Hmm.
so that was also like a roller coaster of emotions. So if you're able to handle those emotions, then I think this is a really cool opportunity for a lot of fans to be like, we have this really cool system that we get to experience the highs and lows of. I just don't think that a lot of fans are ready for those high and lows just because of not just soccer in America, sports in America in general. So,
Yeah, your team obviously, like you said, you've gone down, you've gone back up, you've had money, you haven't had money, you've been stable, you've been wondering where the next league is coming from.
yeah.
Uh, but as we get ready for this, and I know you can't really speak for the rest of the league, so I'll just ask about your particular team. Do you think your team is ready for this move? What do you think they plan to do? Do you think they'll stay in the championship? Do you think they want to start down in the League One and kind of work their way up? Or are they a candidate, given the triangle area, for the USL Division One?
Um, I think they'll either stay championship or they'll bid for the Division One league. Mainly because we know that the fandom is there, but the try as you are aware, you went to Duke.
Hmm.
Like this is almost just like playing in LA. Like you have to win. Like that's the standard. Duke, Carolina State, that's your standard. So, and you have to be at the top flight. Like ACC is a Power Five. We are very much a college town. So and they kind of rule all, honestly.
Hmm.
So you have like if you want to compete with them, you have to be in the top flight. So that's where my mind is of like they're gonna bid for Division One like status when that all comes in. But I think being in championship and promoting your way up too is also just as fine. I don't think they go back down to League One, in terms of like starting there. Now, if they get relegated there, that's on them. But
Hmm.
I think they start in either D1 with whatever this new one's going to be called and championship.
So they have you guys are at the soccer park. I don't know what series of names it's called now. I'll call it the soccer park because that's what it was when I was down there in school. But you have that. It's 10,000 seats.
Hmm.
When you move up to Division One, it's got to be minimum 15. At least most, I think every stadium's got to be minimum 15. And I know you had the plans. North Carolina had the plans for Major League Soccer and the stadium that would come with that. Obviously, the MLS part of those plans fell through. But does the team kind of feel like they need to scramble to kind of get that part of it ready so that they would be prepared for a bid? Does that accelerate any timetable for, any expansion to the soccer park or even a new stadium?
That's a really good question. I don't think it accelerates, but I think it definitely puts pressure on North Carolina Football Club as a whole, so Courage and NCFC, to make a decision. It's either Cary is going to be your home and you're going to truly make it a soccer stadium, like expand it, get the sides closed in, put a roof on it, all that jazz, like put
Hmm.
over the grandstands at least. Or you move and you truly make downtown South the next best destination for soccer in the South. Um, that's and I speak as someone who doesn't have money in that stake, right? Like I'm just a fan. But I truly think that if they're going to get D1, if they're going to apply for D1, with that announcement comes an announcement for a stadium. Like that's the only way that really happens for them. So, um, hopefully this makes this pokes the bear a little bit and it's like, hey, you say you want it, you say you're gonna do it, you say you have the investment to do it, so let's see what you got.
And they got 3 years to kind of put together, at least be in them, have the wheels in motion to tell the league, like, hey, this will be done
Yeah.
28, 29, or something like that. So thinking about the league as a whole, and again, you can kind of take what you know from the championship in League One. What do they have to do over the next few years to stabilize? I know on your pod on the Walking 90 short that we did, I mentioned the fact that there's a combined 17 expansion teams coming in over the
Yeah.
next couple of years, and that's not counting having to create an entirely new league that will be comprised of some of these teams and perhaps even some new teams. What do they need to do to kind of make it where when this starts, people go, okay, this is not a joke. They're for real.
Yeah, I think what most people are going to be looking for is just the stability. Like, how are you making sure that the teams that are here stay? And how are you making sure that the teams that are coming in are successful? Like, if they have to go down a league, can they still maintain? What does that fee look like? How are you explaining pro rel to the general fan, not just the rabid dorks online? Like, how are you setting all these teams up with the appropriate information to make sure that they are telling their fans the proper way pro rel works, where you're starting, where you could go, and like what's the bottom and what's the top? And basically, are you giving them the right information? Are you giving them all of the information so that they know how to operate? You know, because essentially every team has to go into it with two plans or three, essentially three. Are we fighting to stay where we are? Are we fighting to move up, or are we trying? Or what happens if we move down? So you just kind of have to help. Like that's what the league commissioner and the team's owners themselves need to just like prepare for. And I think some teams will be prepared. I don't think all of them are going to be able to be like, there for the first time. So I do see some of these teams probably moving down to League One. Um, or like some of these championship teams moving down to League One and maybe one or two moving up to championship, or maybe even taking that big leap and jumping up to Division One. Like Omaha could do it. If we're talking League One, they could definitely move up to championship or even Division One. Um, and like on Walking Out, we broke down like all the teams. So that'll be a really cool conversation that more people have over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, that's my thought process of just like making sure teams are ready. They don't have like stability is one thing, but like readiness is a whole nother beast of like you can be stable, but you can't be ready for like the magnitude of what's gonna happen when your team actually goes down. So
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys kind of broke down some of it initially when they created the division, what
mm,
kind of teams they would bring up, but outside of the teams that currently exist or are about to exist, do you think USL is in this predicament where I know in the Super League they've kind of gone after markets that directly compete with the NWSL, which is their competitor. On this side, you have Major League Soccer has 30 teams in 28 cities.
yeah.
Do you think that they will go after markets that already have MLS teams, or are they going to target cities like Buffalo or Baltimore, those bigger cities that may not have top flight professional soccer?
I think they do a little of both. So they already are targeting Brooklyn and
Hmm.
they're targeting Buffalo. Colorado, like yeah, you have the Rapids, but there's another part of Colorado, like the Denver, type of places, that just don't have it. But I think they also can like hit at some of these places where they're like fans are pissed at you and they don't want your product. So we can take that product because they're supporting another team far away and because they don't want to support you. And I think there's a couple of those markets where they could actually rival like MLS squads. So um I'm excited to see like which ones they are. I personally think Miami could get could be in trouble with the USL because there's so many like uh League One and championship teams just popping up in Florida all of a sudden. And
Hmm.
like FC Naples coming in, that one was wild, but they're doing so well like their first year. Like and they've only played like 3 games, but still like they're having fun. So,
And you had Rhode Island last year make it all the way to the final in their first year. So
right. I think Portland, Maine could be a sneaky good team and they're gonna be fun. So I think they also just really need to like focus on like fun. Nothing in MLS right now screams fun. You can get like your individual markets, like yeah, what Seattle's doing with the free ticket to a game, that's fun. That's the cool part. But a lot of these teams just still haven't figured it out. And now you've got a D1 USL coming in that's been their whole thing. It's just making it fun. Like League One is fun. It's wild, but they have their own organic rivalries that translate so well. So it's just they've got some markets that even in that DC Richmond area, I
mhm.
don't think Richmond moves up from League One, like to be clear, but the more that this pyramid builds and they make it established, DC might want to check themselves. So,
Right, and we got Loudoun, right, which is no
right.
longer really affiliated with DC United. So now they're considered independent. Richmond has been in the top flight. They've also dropped in years past, and who knows? I know a couple years ago they were dominating, right? And so they have this
Yeah,
opportunity
the
where,
first years. Yeah.
yeah, and they can, and now that they have this, they can kind of think about building out the roster rather than the club, right? You don't need to get
Yeah.
into a 30,000 seat stadium. You need to get a 30, a 30-point player that can get you, to promotion that way. Hey, we're talking about these three different divisions, the new one that's coming in. You have the championship, you have League One. Championship, as I mentioned, currently has 24 teams. League One has
Yep.
14. What's the
Yes.
healthy number for each of these leagues? Like, is it going to be 20 each like they do in Europe, or do they go higher?
Um, I think based on what championship has, I could see it being like 30 at the cap. 20 is a really sweet spot number. So yeah, you're gonna have some movement happening. But like you said, we have 17 teams coming in, like across all of the universes of whatever's happening in USL. So that feels like 20 feels like the number that they're trying to chase for each division. Um, but like I said, we could support probably up to 30 per division if that model works. I personally think they should probably go 20. Yeah.
I mean, that's 60 teams.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, yes, there's going to be some teams that feel like they're left out, and you figure out a way to get them in. But there's also the scheduling, and if you're going to have promotion relegation, I think it's more important now than ever to have a balanced schedule so that no one can say, "Oh, if we hadn't played this team twice or whatever." There's no excuses. Everyone has the same schedule, so everyone can be graded on that schedule the same way fairly. Um, the last question I have for you before we get out of here is: be real. Can this compete with MLS? Is there a world where both of them can operate side by side, or in every other sport that we've had in this country, every other major sport we've had in this country, there have been mergers between two competing leagues. At the end of the day, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NHL have all been they've either absorbed teams or they've merged. And some teams fell away and some teams came with them. Is that where we're going with this? Or do you think that USL can compete alongside Major League Soccer and Division One?
First, I don't think there's going to be a merger. I think both sides have said fuck you too many times to ever merge. One of them, USL will probably rather go away than to merge because
Hmm.
MLS has consistently been a roadblock for soccer growth in the United States, and I say that as a Sounders fan. US like some and MLS have been major roadblocks for soccer in America for a very long time. Um, so that being said, I do think they both can coexist. Mainly because MLS isn't for everyone. And there's if you don't have them by now, no Dochi intro is gonna make the random bro come over to MLS, okay? It's not happening. If Messi hasn't bought them over yet, they're not coming. That's done for. But they don't know about USL yet, maybe. They're very Europe centered. Well, this model is how you bring them in. And that's why I think both of them can coexist. Can whatever the USL Division One and MLS exist together? Maybe, but I see pro-rel happening for like 5 years and then they're going no more. It's kind of hard to break away from it though. Now that you've opened the box, it's kind of like you kind of have to keep going. But I see a 5-year mark of where like things just kind of come to a head, and then we see how both leagues look.
And considering that a lot of leagues in Europe have at least considered closing their leagues and not having promotion relegation, I think the latest one was on the women's side, the women's soccer or women's Super League, that said, hey, maybe we should close this off for a little while, at least between a couple divisions. Okay, before we get you out of here, tell everybody where they can find all of your work, all the great things you're doing, especially with cars.
Jesus. So obviously, big F1 fan. So I do this really cool podcast called DRSFC.
Vroom vroom.
Vroom vroom, all the time. And that one's a fun one. We just started our season and now we're up at midnight and 3 a.m. Let's go China GP. I do some great work over at Shea Butter with Sky and Silves, making it happen as best as we can. Yes, Silves, we are a global market. I'm so sorry to have to be the one to tell you that. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, and I guess you can follow me on Blue Sky, Ebony C25. Don't be sensitive. I will clown you.
She keeps it real online, as she should, because we need that now more than ever. I live here in DC. I can tell you, we need some reality right now. Eboni Christmas, homie, thank you so much for being on here.
Anytime for you, anytime.
We're going to continue our analysis of the USL's promotion relegation announcement, but we will do it on the other side of this commercial break. Stick around.
Lowe's knows what makes SpringFest savings even better are member-only doorbuster deals. Right now, rewards members can save $40 on an Allen & Roth Chesler Gold faucet. Was $99, now $59. Plus, save $110 on a Cobalt 40-volt battery trimmer and blower combo kit. Was $279, now $169. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/24 while supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Zysol keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all. Take Zysol. At night.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place. For changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hey everyone, are you looking for the latest gear for your U.S. national teams, Major League Soccer, the NWSL, or any other team in the world of soccer? The USA Soccercast has affiliate partnerships that are ready to help you out. Head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast, where we have links to Homage, Fanatics, the MLS store, and Breaking Team. You can get the jersey, shirt, hat, or accessory you're looking for to support your team, while also saving some money and helping this show in the process. Again, linktree.com/USA Soccercast. Click on the links and get your gear. And we thank you as always for your support of the show. We are back, and I want to thank the homie Ebony for pulling through and giving us some perspective on the USL implementing promotion relegation. I was honored to be on the Walkin 90 pod on Thursday to discuss it, so go check that out. But in my mind, there's a lot that USL has to do in order to make this truly work the way they think it will. Let's start with the teams. They need to be able to satisfy the D1 standards, but they also need to have enough teams to satisfy the D2 and D3 standards as well. But in that, each team, in theory, among the three divisions, must be capable of meeting the D1 standards, because if they get promoted, they need to have that in place. And the league has to continue to maintain compliance. So what cities could we see begin in the top flight? It could be a list of cities that have already had aspirations to be in Major League Soccer. Teams like Detroit City, Phoenix Rising, North Carolina FC, Tampa Bay Rowdies, San Antonio FC, Louisville City, Sacramento Republic, Indy 11, Las Vegas Lights, and Cleveland, who does not have a team yet. Maybe the league will try to keep some of those major cities that do have MLS involved as well. Brooklyn FC, when it starts up on the men's side, Louder United, which is right outside where I live in DC, Miami FC, Oakland Roots, Orange County FC in the LA area. They also have expansion teams coming in, Buffalo, Milwaukee, Dallas, Jacksonville. All of those could be candidates. Someone get a team in Baltimore, by the way. That's a prime candidate for a club. But, of course, not every city can start in the top flight. USL is going to have to spread some of these teams among the three divisions. You may even have teams from USL League One that might want to make the leap to the championship, like the Richmond Kickers, who have been in the championship before. You have Union Omaha, Charlotte Independence, those type of teams. USL President Paul McDonough said in a statement that the league will be focused on markets that MLS does not serve. He mentioned wanting to have first division clubs in, quote, middle America. And, quote, this is about us, and it's about us building a higher tier because we want to be in certain communities, end quote. Sure, there have been successful teams in smaller markets in the league that have drawn attention with their atmosphere and their product on the field. Sacramento and Louisville have shown that USL can produce teams that can play at a high level. But they can't just focus on Middle America. They have to sell this to TV, and to do that, they need to go after the biggest TV markets that don't have teams in Major League Soccer. Cincinnati is MLS's smallest American TV market, and Cincinnati is the 37th biggest TV market. The USL will have to focus on competing against that as much as they don't want to. There's something to be said about having your blinders on and running your race, but I ran sprints. Every race, there's a point where you peek into the lanes on either side of you to see where your competition is. And it's about getting the requisite number of TV markets over 1 million people that can help satisfy U.S. soccer requirements. The USL's clubs will have to focus on infrastructure as well, namely their stadium situations. Right now, D1 status requires all teams to play in enclosed stadiums with a minimum capacity of 15,000 seats. All teams in the league need that. Currently, if you combine USL Championship and USL League One, there are just 4 teams that fit that requirement. You have Birmingham Legion, who has a 47,000 seat stadium. It's the home of UAB's football team. Miami FC, 20,000 seat capacity, another college football stadium, home to FIU. And Oakland Roots in the USL Championship, 15,000 seat, but that's an artificial cap. They are currently playing in the Oakland Coliseum now that the A's have left, which can seat up to 63,000 for football. In the USL League One, you have Greenville Triumph, who plays at Furman's home college football stadium. They seat about 16,000. And even if you dip down to USL League Two, Annapolis Blues, who are debuting in the league this year, play at Navy's football stadium. That stadium holds 34,000. So I just mentioned 5 stadiums, but there are no soccer-specific stadiums in the USL's collection of leagues on the men's side that are over 15,000, at least not yet. There are teams in place that either have stadiums that are expandable to fit the 15,000 requirement or have plans to build new stadiums that could meet the requirement. Teams like New Mexico, Louisville, Sacramento, Indy 11, and Detroit City. But that's still not enough. The leagues still have teams in minor league baseball parks or high school type of stadiums that limit capacity to very small numbers. And teams will really have to ramp up those plans to get into bigger stadiums that are enclosed so that if they do get promoted, they're ready. So really you have to go from 4 teams to at least 12 to 14 to start, and really you need all the championship teams to be ready too. After that, USL has to figure out how many teams will be in each division. Currently, USL Championship has 24 teams, and there are at least 9 expansion teams already slated to enter the league in the coming 2 to 3 years. That's not counting Oklahoma City, which is technically still in hiatus and is expected to return at some point. USL League One, they have 14 teams with at least 6 or maybe 7 now. They kind of go by the day. 6 to 7 expansion teams confirmed. And you got to figure out how to keep all these leagues stable with the number of teams. What is expansion going to look like in promotion relegation? Will they have to start in League 2, which is the amateur semi-pro division, and figure out how to work their way up to League 1? Will they stop expansion? Will each division have 20 teams, 24 teams, more? Remember, the one thing that becomes even more essential in promotion relegation is a balanced schedule. The last thing you want is a team to complain that they're getting relegated because they had a harder schedule than someone else who's staying, or that some team got promoted because they had a weaker schedule than another team that did not earn promotion. What are expansion and team fees going to look like? What happens to the payouts among the teams? Will there be windfall payments if a team gets relegated? What happens if a team doesn't meet the requirements for the next league up, whether it's their city's metro area being too small and the league falling out of compliance, or the team has a stadium that's too small? Better yet, what happens if a team earns promotion and goes, no, actually, we're cool here, and opts out? You may be thinking, Donald, no team will do that. But I promise you, if a team financially doesn't think they can handle it, we're going to see it. We already see it in the league. North Carolina FC, Richmond Kickers have decided at some point in their history that the numbers didn't add up for them to be in a higher division, and they self-relegated. North Carolina FC is, of course, back into the championship after they got their finances together. So in a promotion relegation system, how will it account for those variables? There's also the investment that some hardcore proponents of promotion relegation swears is out there, but has not wanted to get involved because MLS and the American soccer pyramid didn't have this in place. Those fans better hope this investment comes in bunches and comes quickly. USL is essentially betting on it. They're going to need the long-term investment to come immediately. And of course, they could use the upcoming World Cup in 2026 to spur some of that financial interest. But they need to use that support to drum up interest in their current teams, interest in building stadiums, and the other infrastructure improvements that the league and teams are going to need. They need to help further that stability and to keep the league interested in continuing. That's why some people think that this will never happen, because it's all part of a plan to just get more interest in the league ahead of the World Cup without any substance behind it. Those fans who are hardcore proponents of the system, Yeah, it's time for them to start showing up. This is exactly what they've been asking for this whole time. The USL is betting on those fans to now become engaged in the league and the teams. All teams have this to build out their fan base and get them involved now. If this is such a great thing that is going to get the stands full of engaged fans because there's a rooting interest in every match, then they need to back up that talk with action. Invest in the teams. I say that as a part owner of Detroit City. Go to the matches, buy the merch, watch the games on TV. The teams need that because you got to be all in now. I've always said that everyone is a fan of promotion relegation, and Eboni said it too. Everyone's a fan of promotion relegation until their team is relegated. Always happens. So what happens when your team gets relegated? Will you be there? Will fans welt away like they do in Europe? And we see that all the time. If you have been all in on promotion relegation, this is now your Super Bowl. So you better be ready to back that system through the good times and the bad, in sickness and in health. Now, there's an underlying question here that some fans of the USL may not want to address. And I asked Eboni this. Is this set up for the USL and MLS to eventually merge and create one huge system down the line? Literally every other sport in this country, NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, even IndyCar and NASCAR have become the leagues that they are today via mergers of different leagues and organizations. Now, Eboni said it doesn't feel like the USL will eventually merge with MLS, and I tend to agree with her. But there will be soccer wars at some point. And right now, MLS has all the money. They have more money right now than USL. So I won't rule it out down the line that these two leagues put their heads together and their money to create one league with several divisions of promotion relegation, and most importantly to them, one big pile of money. But that's a while away. And while the owners that have bled money for years wait to get the financial windfall, this is not going to happen. But it is something to keep in the back of your mind. Every league has done it, and you can't fully dismiss it in this case. Last thing, USL has to figure out how they shed the label that they are a lower division of soccer, both in stature, prestige, and the play on the field. When you think of USL right now, you think lower division. And they have to figure out how to make fans around the world think top flight when they hear the name. That's going to take some time. And it's going to take a lot of Novocaine. You got to be able to continue to make huge splashes with regards to infrastructure, player signings, TV deals, and other things that ruffle the leaves of the plants in some of these big boardrooms worldwide. And the play needs to reflect the stature of the league. If you are top flight, the league better have play that reflects that. They need to show that play in the league is just as good, if not better, than that of MLS. They need people to think that a USL team beating an MLS team in US Open Cup is not the cup set we all crave. They need USL teams winning US Open Cup, playing in CONCACAF Champions Cup, making waves. You don't want people going to an MLS match and then a USL match and determining that there's a huge gap in quality in the play on the field and the game day experience. Right now, you can see that, cup set notwithstanding, and that's okay. You don't want fans thinking your product is minor league, because in some of these cities with major league options, that is going to limit fan interest in really locking in and becoming a foundational member of that fan base. All of that is going to take time and a lot of habit breaking on the part of fans, but the USL has to be proactive in helping with that by the actions they take to bring in new fans and to show that their league is just as good, if not better, than the alternative. Now, having said all of that, I actually want this to work. I've never been a huge proponent of promotion relegation in the United States because of some of the concerns I just raised, mainly the stability of the pyramid. I don't want teams pushing themselves and taking on too much in the name of promotion relegation. And I've always said that the system just isn't as amazing as people think. They always focus on the promotion. When they argue with you about it, they talk about the glory of promotion. There's a reason it's called promotion relegation, not relegation promotion. They don't talk about the teams that fail financially because their team was relegated and relegated again and lose all their players because they can't pay wages and fans aren't coming to the stadium because they've had to cut several aspects of the game day experience, so they don't want to come. And the games aren't on TV, so it's out of sight, out of mind. People don't really talk about that part. They just boast the inspirational stories of teams moving up several divisions to play in the Premier League or another top flight league. And this is a two-way street. This system has the good and it has the bad. Most importantly, I want USL to get this right, because I don't want them in 5 or 10 years to go, oops, yeah, this ain't working out the way we thought it would. We're going to go back to a closed league again and get rid of this. They're going to have to be all in, because if this doesn't work, it does not return. The hardcore proponents don't get to say, see, yeah, the USL did it wrong. And what had happened was if we had did it this way, it would succeed here. Nope, you don't get that. Promotion relegation has one chance to get it right here. There's no margin for error or redo. If they don't get it right, MLS will be there to say, told you so. Which is why USL has put themselves on the clock to get this right. 2028 is not that far away. Teams will need to step up to the penalty spot and deliver. And we wait to see if they can. The great thing about this for USL is that everyone will be following the league a little bit closer now over the coming years. They can use this to build interest in the league. And again, I hope this succeeds. I hope they get this right. And I'm sure once they put some concrete plans in place, we will analyze them closely. But for now, this is something worth watching, worth following, and let's see if the USL can deliver. But that will do it for episode 152 of the USA Soccer Cast. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to follow us on Blue Sky, Twitter, and we're on YouTube as well. Find us on all those platforms at USA Soccer Cast. Subscribe, rate, and review our episodes. It really helps and is greatly appreciated. Don't forget, we have affiliate programs with a ton of places to get you the gear you love and help you travel to see your favorite teams play or watch them from the comfort of your home. Head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast to learn more. Click the links to all of those sites and our stimulus store and support the show in the process. We'll talk to you again soon, y'all. Peace.